Hi everyone and welcome to this week's podcast. My name's Charlotte and I work as a Year 2 teacher in a primary school in London. If you haven't heard any of Hanaz Writers' podcasts before, then have a listen on their podcast channels, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, YouTube and Spotify. You can search for Hanaz Writers' podcasts on these websites and then you can start listening to all of the available podcasts on them. In the next few podcasts, I'm actually going to be talking about 7 different types of creative writing. And they are poetry, plays, movies, and television scripts. Fiction, like novels, novellas, and short stories. Songs, speeches, memoirs, and personal essays. First of all, I'm going to talk about fiction, and in particular, short stories. So, short stories, what are they? How long are they? And how are they different from novels? So, what exactly is a short story? In simple terms, a short story is a brief piece of writing that is fictional or non-fictional, and it can have up to 7,500 words. And it's a short story that focuses on a single plot, a single character or a few characters, and a theme around the characters. So you can think of a short story as kind of like a snapshot rather than a full photo album of a moment or an event, say a snippet of time. It's a quick journey and it's one that can be powerful and thought-provoking just as much and impactful as, say, a full-length novel. So short stories usually range from about 1,000 to 7,500 words. And there's also flash fiction, which can be even shorter, under 1,000 words even. There's one on the internet at the moment where you have to write a story of 100 words. So, it's like a little mini competition. See who can write a quick flash fiction story about 100 words long. And it's quite challenging for the writers because they have to think about how to write something, how to make it short but impressive, and how to make an impact with others when they're reading it. So the key for short stories then is conciseness, because every sentence matters. There's no room for like long digressions or multiple subplots or anything to be included in the storyline that's not the main storyline. There's no digressions, there's no parting of ways and then talking about 5 other characters and then coming back to the main character. But that's part of what makes them such a unique challenge for writers to do. And it's also amazing for the readers because they get to read something that writers have, challenged themselves to write. So now you might be wondering, how are short stories different from novels, besides the obvious length? Well, novels often explore multiple characters, and they have lots of different settings, and lots of conflicts, and debates, and issues, and discussions over maybe hundreds of pages. Short stories, though, on the other hand, they tend to zoom in on like one single moment, or one idea. They can even have a twist on the end, an ending with a twist. They can even have an open-ended question at the end where they don't really conclude. So it's left open so whoever's reading it has to make up their own kind of idea about what happened next. So, it's kind of like their own prediction or how, what and how and who, what will happen next. They also kind of have a single kind of statement to make as well. It can be an emotional statement or just statements of facts or statements about the characters. And maybe it's a short story about a character's characteristic, a character's personality. It's a very quick moment in time. Very short, very quick. But novels are very different. They do the opposite to that. I will talk more about novels in my next podcast, and I will go into a bit more detail on that. So I won't pick up too much on novels this time. So short stories are great for building moments and building short and quick events. And they often, just showcase, like I said earlier on, like a quick snapshot of something that's happened or something that's happening, um, or something that might happen in the future. And they're quite kind of like teaser stories. They're kind of like stories that grip the reader, and the reader is wanting a bit more, but then the story finishes. So yeah, it leaves them wanting more at the end. It leaves them having to think about what could actually be happening right now, what's going on. How does the character then get out of the situation? Maybe it doesn't even tell you. It just kind of ends of them being in a precarious situation. So you're left kind of open endings, open question endings, and oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? So short stories are therefore perfect for when you don't have time to read a novel, because novels are just too long, and you just want a kind of quick, meaningful read, or you want a quick, short read about something, and you just want to, it can make you laugh, it can make you be thoughtful, it can make you be sad, it can make you feel, oh, I don't know, that was a bit odd kind of story, because yeah, there are some of those stories that are like that. And they're kind of like, so short stories are kind of like the espresso shot, of literature. They are small, they're not very long, they're strong, and sometimes they're unforgettable. There's actually been a few movies that were created because of short stories. If you look closely at some of the movies that have been made, I think I Am Legend is one of those stories. It wasn't a novel, it was a short story that was written. And I think the director of the movie, had read the story and they thought, wow, this is amazing. But again, it was a short story and it was a very quick read. So they probably read it through quickly and they were like, oh my gosh. But because it was so impactful and because it was so, I'm trying to think of the word, it was something that gave the reader a very strong emotion that I think they wanted to carry on the story. They wanted to pick up on what happened at the end and add a bit more to it. And so then the whole movie was created. And then, Will Smith was asked to play the guy and the main character. And yeah, and then the story just kind of evolved through the movie. So again, I will talk about movies later on in another podcast. So today I'm just focusing on the short stories. So what else can we say about short stories? Well, they're not as descriptive as a novel. That's the other thing about short stories. They have to be able to tell people things very quickly. They have to be able to tell readers who is, in the story, what exactly is happening, how it's happening, and they have to be very quick paced. It's very fast paced. And then they have to describe as quickly as they can. Now, sometimes it means that their description is not as long-winded, is not as deep, and is not as creative and imaginative as, say, writing, say, about the Avatar world or something. If you've ever seen Avatar and you've seen it in 3D, then you know what I'm talking about. So it's a very quick, general description of places, general descriptions of things and objects and even people as well. Because, you can describe a person within a few words. You can say he was a tall, charming, brown-haired, blue-eyed guy. There you go. And then you can imagine this person who's tall, charming, brown-haired, blue-eyed, and he's a guy. And you don't even need to know the name because the character has been described. You just know this person is the character of the story. Then they had to describe the place, because he just went to the park, sat on the swings, ate his lunch of a sandwich while he watched people walk by, past him. The swings slowly swung, creaking as it went. Just quick and very generalized imaginings of what's happening. And you can kind of visualize it because of your own past experiences. So the other thing about short stories is, I guess they kind of lend themselves to what you've experienced and what you know about different events, about different things, about people as well. Especially if you've met lots and lots of people, if you've been to lots and lots of different events, if you've been to lots of different places, then, they can just say, like I said, the swimming pool. And you can imagine already a swimming pool in your mind. They could say, sitting in the living room. Again, you imagine your living room, or you imagine a living room. Doesn't matter. You've just imagined it already. So the short story kind of lends that quick, short generalization of a place. And I guess it works that way. If you didn't have those kind of thoughts and you didn't have those kind of imagination and you couldn't visualize those kind of things, then reading a short story might put you off and you'll feel a bit, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. But if you're one of those people who can hear something and then you imagine it or you visualize it in your head and you're like, okay, then you can, you're probably one of those people who probably enjoy short stories. And you could probably use that to your advantage, because then it means that it kind of stops you from reading too many things and it stops you from having to over imagine. I'm going to pick up on Avatar again. When he wrote the description of things and when he had to just talk about everything in the new world, it's very descriptive. You have to be full on, and people need to take that on board, and they have to then imagine it as you've described it. So it's a bit more specific, I guess, with novels than with short stories. Short stories are more general, and then the novels are more specific. And I think the writer with the short stories, all they want to do at that point is try to move the story along. They don't want you to sit there for hours imagining things or, minutes imagining things. They want you to quickly imagine something, see the event, see what happens, read what happens even, and then imagine what's happening in your mind, and then get to the end. And that's basically short stories. I know, very quick, very short, and not as descriptive as we thought it would be. So yeah, that's the first of my podcasts on fiction. I will move to talk about novels in my next podcast. Again, more fiction. But I think I can't really talk about short stories without comparing them with novels and comparing novels with short stories. So yeah, so that will be my next podcast. That's all for this podcast. Thank you for tuning in and for listening. And I hope that this podcast has helped you, especially if you're interested in short stories and you're not sure how to get started or how to write them, because it is a very tricky thing to do, writing short stories. But I hope that this podcast has helped you gain a few ideas, a few pieces of understanding of what a short story is and how you could go about writing it. And if you're interested in writing your own story, then why don't you visit Hanaz Writers' website, and you can sign up for free there. You're allowed to write your own stories and poems on it. And you can also ask for help and guidance from the people who run the website, because they are people who want to publish your work. If you did enjoy listening to this podcast and you would like to listen to more, then you certainly can. Like and subscribe to Hanaz Writers on their podcast channels. They have one on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, YouTube, and Spotify. You can also search for Hanaz Writers podcasts on these websites, and you can then start listening to all the available podcasts on them. So thank you very much for listening, and until next time, bye!